Siona God, hello all. Oshisanali, good morning, and Wado, thank you for watching. So this is day 6 of reading Lone Wolf Alpha Squad, copy over by James Rink, and this is his story. Americans could participate in these forces, but the Germans maintained control over these programs. Whistleblower Captain Randy Kramer, C-R-A-M-E-R, of the United States Marine Corps Special Section, has shared his story extensively about his time embedded with the Mars Defense Force. I'm gonna have to look into that. 1970s, Mars required much military and security personnel as the planet was ravaged by fierce territorial battles between 7-foot tall scientists. By fierce territorial battles between 7-foot tall sentient insectoid and 8-foot tall sentient reptilian races. Mars Defense Force and private military contractors such as Kruger were tasked with exterminating and clearing the native fauna to protect human settlements. And this rendition, or the sketch, well, same thing, it says MDF Kruger super soldiers battling native Martian reptilian populations. So there's super soldier, and then there's the reptilian. Today, the ICC has over 100 colonies, bases, and industrial facilities on the moon, main asteroid belt Mars, and several other moons and bodies in our solar system. They also have ongoing trade agreements with almost 900 civilizations and operational bases in almost all of the 53 local star clusters around us, but most are observational outposts. There are 20 ICC cloaked stations currently in our galaxy. The first 3 cloaked stations are orbiting around Earth and are research facilities learning how to create sustainable living environments in outer space for long-term travel to faraway galaxies. 3 other stations do research on how to successfully create hydroponics and aquaponics gardens on spaceships and stations, as well as studying how bacteria and viruses survive in different space environments. 6 stations around Mars are building warships for interstellar defense of the Milky Way galaxy. There are 4 stations around Jupiter, 2 near Saturn, 3 near Venus, 1 beside Pluto, and the last one near Uranus. There are also minor stations used for spying and recon on the activities other SSP factions within our galaxy. Recon on the other activities, other SSP factions within our galaxy. Yeah, that's another typo, I guess. These stations have world engines made from plasma generators, so they can travel out in space and they are not necessarily stationary. The ICC also oversees another group known as the Merchant Marine Fleet. Their job is to trade supplies between bases and to figure out what to do with them. They are also the #1 transporter of slaves and the second biggest transporter of weaponry technology. So, for example, these vessels would kidnap people on planet Earth that were about to die from a plane crash. Okay, sorry. Okay, we're about to die from a plane crash. No one would even know they were gone. These people would then be either converted into cyborgs for slave labor, converted into food for regressive species, or sold to alien groups for breeding experiments. Breeding pairs are considered more valuable cargo. In their return, the MMF would obtain advanced weapons and technology for their colonies. That makes you think of those planes that disappear, like completely disappear. None of their stuff comes up, like no debris and everything. There are no suitcases, no clothes, no nothing. And then maybe 30 years later, there's a window that shows up. Come on now, right? All right, let's see. This is why the ICC has continued hiding their presence from the planet Earth. No one wants to take responsibility for their actions that have resulted in human slavery, and the ICC continues to have a massive demand for new personnel in their off-world bases in their 20, 40, or 60 years and back programs. Over time, the annual abduction quota on the planet Earth would steadily rise from 55,000 people in 1959 to over 1 million by the year 2020. The good news is in 2020, only a tiny 0.01% fraction are sold as slaves for food. Oh, good news. And that's, sorry, sarcasm is low frequency. I take it back. In 1980, the Cabal built Voyager 1 and 2 spacecrafts successfully past Jupiter and the Saturn area. The Cabal wanted to see the build out of the Antarctic German bases. What they saw shocked them. The Cabal realized they were very far behind the Germans' technology, so they decided to accelerate their plans for world domination by speeding up the depopulation timeline. Oh, okay. They started to create diseases, poison the food, destroy the soil, poison the water, inject people with toxins in the vaccines, dumb down the people with education, and drown everyone in debt. That tracks. The Cabal did this because humanity was about to go through an awakening process to become a galactic civilization. If this happened, the Cabal would be destroyed, as advanced free energy and replicator technologies would soon make central banks and fiat money obsolete. So, can we get there now, please? Solar Warden. Solar Warden origins can be traced back to the first U.S. Navy's electric airship built in Louisiana by Solomon Andrews in 1862. First electric airship. On April 19, 1897, Samuel Tillman piloted a 60-foot-long wheeled electric-powered airship in Stephenville, Texas. He was a member of the Cosmos Club and a pallbearer of the John Jacob Astor IV, who was a major opponent of the Federal Reserve Bank but died in the Titanic. Now, I always wondered, what was the significance, of the Titanic going down? Who all was on there, right? That's what you should be thinking every single time something major happens. Who was on there? What were they doing? What were they about? This faction seems to be connected to the more positive bloodline families on the planet. The U.S. Navy further advanced their research of electrostatic and gravitational motors well into the 1930s with the help of Nikola Tesla, the Dyson family, and Thomas Townsend Brown. In 1928, Brown filed the first patent for an electrogravitic device called a gravitator. This has come to be called the BIEFELD, Biefeld-Brown effect, and was incorporated in a 1952 bid by Brown to the U.S. Navy to build a fleet of flying saucer craft. This would be known as Project Winter Haven. SSP insider William Tompkins claims Douglas Aircraft Company later took over this project. William Tompkins also mentioned that the Americans got a hold of the German anti-gravity craft schematics during World War II. NASA scientist Werner von Braun worked with the Germans to help build out the 20-acre moon base, as well as secretive rotating space platforms serviced by Solar Warden. In 1954, Dwight Eisenhower established the Greada, Greada Treaty, paving the creation of an organization under Project Mayflower that would meet the following conditions. The U.S. government is to swear to secrecy of, in brackets, their presence on planet Earth. Number 2, the U.S. government may be furnished with information to advance technology. Number 3, a quota for biological specimens must be met, in parentheses, includes human biology. Number 4, a quota of biological candidates are to be returned to their point of origin with no recollection of any event imposed. Number 5, full access to U.S. government facilities is required. In the 1970s, many submarine-shaped vessels were construed inside massive underground shipyards beneath the Wasatch, Wasatch Mountains of Utah. There are also Solar Warden facilities in Hawaii. They would convert submarines for space flight with a temporal drive based on principles of quantum entanglement between certain isotopes. Their largest craft was 2 kilometers, and in parentheses 1.2 miles long, and their fleets include carriers, fighters, triangular shuttles, research vessels, troop transport ships, hospital ships, and supply ships. Their main job was to make sure the area between Earth and the moon was secure, because there's way too much stuff going on out there. Their uniforms are navy blue with some gold stripes, and the early uniforms were very tight-fitting, leaving little to hide. Later, the uniforms were changed to more loose-fitting. In 1980, the Cabal briefed the Reagan administration about the ICC. During this time, the Cabal were setting up their own secret space program under the cover name of SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative, also known as Star Wars. This SSP group would call themselves Solar Warden and was overseen by its first director, John Lehman, who was also the Secretary of the Navy at the time. Enlisted officers included participants from all nations that had a Cabal-controlled central bank, while upper management was drawn from Naval Space Command. According to Gary McKinnon, who accessed the NASA Star People files in 2002, it was found that the American side of the SSP would be called Solar Warden and operate under the U.S. Naval Network and Space Operations Command, NNSOC, based at Area 51 in Pine Gap, Australia. Solar Warden also works with LOC, Lunar Operations Command, which operates the Earth Defense Grid from 3 sites on the dark side of the moon. They also have facilities at the Europa Station checkpoint near the Stargate of Jupiter. About 5,000 people live here. A facility on Mars at Victoria Crater Base, Ganymede, Ganymede, next door to the Kruger Base, and Enceladus, Enceladus, the moon of Saturn. Radiant Guardian and Radiant Glory. Solar Warden patrols the area from the Sun to the Oort cloud. In the 1990s, Solar Warden's fleet was divided in half. Radiant Guardian patrols from the Sun to the Mars ring, asteroid belt, and Radiant Glory, tasked with patrolling the region from the Mars ring to the end of our solar system near the heliosphere or out toward the Oort cloud, where they have bases. These guys will actually patrol these areas to make sure they've got supplies, make sure there's nothing going on or anyone coming in the system that should not be there. If we have a particular big orbital problem, say for example comet or asteroid, they may take care of that as well. Red Rising Star, and it's written in, I don't know, is that Russian? Right there, I'm not really sure. After the fall of the Soviet Union around the mid-90s, the Soviets lost their space fleet. For a brief period, they had even named their Soviet secret program the Red Rising Star. What was left was a group of derelict Roman vessels and bases that were reclaimed by either the ICC, the Merchant Marine Fleet, and the remaining holdouts would join Solar Warden in the early 2000s. Their ships were real junk too. By 1990, the Antarctic Germans had moved the bulk of their operations to Mars. They also acquired new property on the moon so they would not have to be as close to the Draco. Their treaty with the Draco stated that if they evacuated their base, they would need to find a new tenant. So they gave the base to the Cabal. The Cabal paid for this moon lease with 25,000 ground troops so that Germans could use them on Mars to expand their territories and for border control. Royal British Space Navy, British SSP Group, Caballeros de las Estrellas, Knights of the Stars, Spanish SSP Group, Homes de la Nuit, Men of the Night, BICHY, French SSP. And here is the flag, right here. Nazi U-boat bases on Vichy French territory would travel to Antarctica, and French personnel would have access to the breakaway from there. France starvation 1941 to 1944 might have been caused by Neuschwabenland food shipments. NEUSCHWABENLAND food shipments. IDARF, Interplanetary Defense and Reaction Forces. In 1991, the Cabal and the Mars Germans signed a cooperative action treaty allowing the Cabal to take over the 20-acre moon base in Draco territory. They also created IDARF, which stands for the Interplanetary Defense and Reaction Forces. I'll stop it there. Done to go hang, we in a good shot. I'll skate till we meet again. Love you, mean it.